Hey, what's going on everybody? My name is Ryan. I'm a CPA, and today I'm going to be talking a little bit about IRS penalty waivers and how you can get them waived. But first, of course, if you're new here, thanks for joining me, and I'd appreciate it if you subscribe to my channel to stay up to date with all things tax, business, and pandemic related. Also, please smash that like button to show me some support and to get this video seen by other people. So I thought this topic would be important because there are a lot of people out there who are struggling right now, and I think if you can get some IRS penalties waived, that can get you a few extra $100 or a few extra $1,000 back in your pocket if you meet certain criteria, and I think that would be really helpful right now. So I'm going to be talking about the different kinds of penalties, okay, how the IRS tracks them, what the reasons they will waive penalties for, and how you can be doing that. So not all penalties are created equal. There are several types of penalties. Okay, so first is the failure to file penalty, which is a penalty that they assess if you file your return late or if you don't file your return at all. And then there's the failure to pay penalty. This is if you pay your taxes due late or if you don't pay at all. Then there's the underpayment penalty. This is a penalty that you incur for not paying quarterly estimated taxes if you own a business or if you have other sources of income outside of your W-2 job. You're required to pay quarterly taxes, and I have another video on that in my channel, so check that one out as well. There's also a substantial understatement penalty, which is a penalty that's assessed if you forgot to report some income on your tax return and then the IRS finds out about it. There's also a negligent penalty, which is if you were completely or purposefully, if they think you're purposefully not reporting income, and that one can be really bad. So all these penalties are assessed at different rates, and they're assessed for different time periods and all that stuff, so they're not all created equal. So how does the IRS track these penalties? That's a really important thing to go over because that will help you understand how you can get these penalties waived. So the IRS tracks them by tax form and by year. That means if you file your taxes personally, they track it by your 1040, okay? And then they also track it by the year. So if you file your 2018 1040 late, then it's your 2018 1040 that's assessed the penalty. And same thing with your business. If you filed your business tax return, let's say you were an S corporation, you have an 1120S filed late for 2018, then it's your 2018 1120S. Now this is an important distinction because if you're a business owner and you have an S corporation and you have payroll, your payroll tax forms are tracked separately. So that means the penalties are also tracked separately. So you can file for a penalty waiver for your payroll taxes and for your income taxes separately. So what are the primary reasons that penalties are waived? First one is a reasonable cause, something like medical or your inability to file taxes or pay taxes. Second one is statutory exception. This comes from an IRS agent that gave you wrong information. Third is a correction of an IRS error, and this one's self-explanatory. And the fourth one is called an administrative waiver, which I'll be talking more about today. So the most common type of administrative waiver is called the first-time abatement. First-time abatement basically is an easy way to get a penalty waived if it's your first penalty in a while. And the only penalties that qualify for this abatement are the failure to file, failure to pay, and failure to deposit penalty. Failure to deposit penalty is typically assessed for payroll taxes. In order to qualify for this, you also have to be currently compliant with all your tax returns. So all your taxes filed, you have to be all paid up on your taxes or at least have an installment agreement in place, because an installment agreement enables you to be compliant without actually paying your entire tax bill. You have to have a clean penalty history for at least the prior 3 years from the year that you're trying to abate. So let's say you're trying to abate year 2018 penalty. That means years 2017, 16, and 15 have to be clear of penalties. And this is for obviously the same tax return. So again, if you're a business, you have an 1120S if you're an S corporation, and you have the 941, which is your payroll tax. Now, if you got a penalty in year 2017 on your payroll tax return, that won't affect any penalty abatements for your 2018 S Corp tax return, the 1120S, which is why it's important to know the distinctions between the different tax forms and how penalties are traced. Okay, so with the first time abatement, it's a very simple process, and it's the most simple way to get penalties abated as long as you meet those criteria that I just explained. In order to do that, you want to file what's called a Form 843 with the IRS. I'll have a link to that form in the description below, but you want to fill that form out, submit it to the IRS, and then what you do is you just wait, okay? For the explanation, you just put down that you request a first time abatement. The best way to do this is to get a record of your account to make sure that you actually are compliant before you submit that form. So that's one way to do it. The second way to do it is to call the IRS and just ask them to waive or to abate your penalty if you received a penalty for a given year. So that's one way to do it, and also to find out whether you are compliant or not. The only downside there is that you'll probably have to wait on hold for a few hours before you can talk to somebody. Okay, and then the third way to do it is to hire a professional. Now, a professional can really help because we can either file the 843 for you, or we can jump on the phone and get the penalty waived that way. And in the process, we can find out and make sure that you are compliant. We can advocate on your behalf with the IRS agent. And that's important because in order for the IRS agent to determine whether you actually qualify for the penalty waiver, they just put your information through this kind of automated software. And from my experience, some agents don't really know how to fully use that software, or sometimes that software just denies people their waiver incorrectly. So it's our job to advocate for you, to ask them to do it again, to check again, or to at least override the software. So those are the three ways that you can get your penalty waived for the first time abatement. If you're going to try to go for a reasonable cause waiver, that will not affect your first time abatements. So let's say you got a penalty in 2017 and then you were successfully able to get that penalty waived for a reasonable cause, and you got another penalty in 2018, you can still get that 2018 penalty waived as a first time abatement, okay? So the different reasons for waiving your penalty don't affect each other. Now, the reasonable cause penalty is a lot more difficult to be successful at. In my experience, I've tried doing like medical reasons for my clients, and a lot of them have been turned down. It seems like the IRS wants the person to be like in a hospital bed, unable to move for months and months and months, and then that qualifies for a medical reasonable cause. I mean, you can always take your chances there if the first time abatement doesn't work, but it's always worth a try. I bet most people don't even know that you can try to get these penalties waived. So it's always worth a try, especially if it's a significant amount of money. One last thing I want to mention is that you can try to get your penalty waived from a previous year. So if you know you got a penalty assessed in 2017 or 18 or whatever, you can go back and try to apply for the abatements. And if you're successful, then you'll get that money back as a refund. So that's one important thing to know, okay? And that could really help some people here who are looking for some money during this tough time. All right, so that's all I got for today. Thanks for joining me. I appreciate it. And again, if you're new here, subscribe to my channel and stay up to date with everything going on right now. And if you are already a subscriber, thanks for joining me again. I appreciate it. And of course, smash that like button if you like the content of this video. Have a great day and take care.
I hit the function, hit the rose till I hiccup. I hit the stage and leave with money that's a sticker. She picture perfect, so I told him I'm a flicker. Bill, I'm in the mood for a change up. I leave the city and return with my change up.